What the? Why is that like that? There we go. Friends, my candy paint is indeed immaculate. All right, hold on. Camera's a little bit too far over today. Let me go fix that, and I'm gonna link this to everybody. Well, I think we're just gonna have to fucking deal with it, honestly. Okay. Da, da, da. What else we got here? So linking LRH. Then might as well hit that old not math on Freenode. And we'll hit pound MDE while we're at it. Boom. What else we got here? I'm going to hit Jenks Slack also. Hell yeah. Not going to hit the Clubhouse because Super Baked is there. Ugh. Terrible. All right, let's let my fucking Discord know. Then the JRE Discord, they're going to want to know about this. Wait, where did I fucking post that? There we go. The JRE Discord. Shout outs to them. The fucking Rio Politics Discord. Yeah. And then I'm not going to let hip hop know about it today. They can figure it out for themselves. All right. Good God Almighty. Did we also link IRC? Shouts to Raz living rent free in the Hugbox Discord. All right, who dares summon me right there? Oh shit, it's FPQC. Boom! I'm alive. Ugh, my heart's beating like a hammer. All right. Well, what do we got here? Oh, and I've got chats coming through too. Let me see what the restream chat says. Okay, so it looks like the YouTube chat is working once again. Spathywa says halt. Who tards there? We got we out here from Jira. Should the title be SPACETARDS? So funny thing is that Twitch.tv won't let you use the word tards. And it won't let you use the word tards with like a fucking umlaut over the A or a tilde. Any variation of the word tards is blackballed. But SPACETARDS as a single hyphenated word is a-okay with them. So I don't know what that's all about. Whoa, shit. So here's Big Hugo. Oh, it's Negi. Shout out to Negi. So Negi, we edit science fiction novels starting at like 6 a.m. every day. I don't know why I do this, but I definitely do it. Shit, I haven't seen Negi in a long time there. We got Big Hugo K. He's with that Europe. Yeah, hopefully you ain't getting too roasted by the coronavirus over there. Apparently he's drunk. I wish I was drunk at the moment right there. I've been nipping too hard into that whiskey. I think I'm going to have to start going for a bike ride every day. Hopefully you can't catch that old Corona from a bike ride. All right, well, every day we're doing this just kind of as a fun thing to do. All right, so what do we got right here? I'm going to take these old tarot cards and read y'all your fortune for today. Let me shuffle this up right here. Yesterday was like a pretty decent start to the stream right there. What's going on in my life right here? Not too much. Work is like pretty boring and so forth. I'm feeling pretty useless. Usually during a day, I'll do like a bunch of things that are straight useful. And just at the moment, there's nothing useful for yours truly to do other than edit these science fiction novels and ban nerds off of IRC. And that doesn't keep a man going. You know what I'm saying? All right. So let's take ourselves a gander right here. What's our card number 1? That's going to be the 4 of Swords. Card number 2, going to be the 2 of Wands. And card, oh, fucking fantastic there. All right, card, and it's so rare that we get the star in our Trump number 17, the star. And these are readings only for today. Okay, so the Four of Swords represents a cessation in hostilities. Essentially, it's the period of rest after a bitter fight, and then people take accounting for what they've done. In the Thoth deck, it's the point where all the swords are balanced against each other. A stalemate has been found. But here, it looks like the end of a long-standing beef. I don't know, maybe Salt Games. Oh, so Negi is asking... Negi's asking if there are any card games that you can play with tarot games. There are a bunch of them. In fact, tarot was originally a card game called Taroki. And there's a neat one. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it starts with a Z. It's like Zenokio or something. I'll look it up for you, but it's a really cool one. It's like an area control game with tarot cards. So then we've got the second card here is going to be the beginning of a journey. It's somebody looking out and preparing for a journey. You'll notice the position of the two staffs. They make almost a portal. And staffs are creative energy generally. They're the big dick of the tarot cards. So this is an individual who is about to go past the threshold of their creative expression. They're looking forward at doing something big and new. And the star is one of my favorite cards in the deck, and it's open to a lot of different interpretations. Yeah, when I look at a new deck, one of the three cards that I'm really interested in is the star. The next is the tower. And I forget what the third is. Probably the devil, because I'm an edgelord. So the star is one of the most fortuitous cards. It represents an unattainable goal at a great distance. In the context of this, there are other, the feminine mystique and temperance, balance, transfer. But in this particular case, I want to say that today is the day to, at the end of a long and bitter conflict, look forward to a new artistic vision towards a shimmering triumph. And this applies to anybody who believes in this bullshit. It's not just me out here. Any nigga can get it, as they like to say. Well, like that's our the feel when no one asks with Tar games. Yeah, I've got the rules sitting around somewhere. It's like Zentrada, Zenokio. Starts with a Z. Zara. I have no idea or whatever. All right. Well, that done. I guess hopefully that's a little bit more compelling than just watching a video of paint drying every single morning. If anybody out there would like to record one, I'd like to get a cover of Send in the Clowns as our theme music. And then maybe today I'll work a little bit on making a new neat intro video. But I do like the card game at the beginning there. Stay true. Hell yeah. So what's this story all about? So this is a story called SPACETARDS. It's only about 30,000 words, which means that we're going to be done with it within like a week or so. And what do we find out so far? Let's just this is short enough that we can summarize it every single day. So in chapter 1, we meet the admiral of the HMASS Polybius, which is a whaler. It's a ship that specializes in tracking down breaches in deep space where this mysterious herald radiation starts appearing. And not long after that, an alien Hulk will sort of rip through a wormhole and hang out for a little bit in real space. And then after a little bit, these alien Hulks that they call whales tend to dive and return back into their alternate dimension or hyperspace or wherever the fuck they're going. So our initial chapter is introducing some of the crew of the HMAS Polybius, the admiral, who was unnamed, and the captain of Marines, the COM. And basically they observe the largest whale any of them have ever seen breaching one of these wormholes, and then the wormhole snaps shut halfway through, like an asshole cutting a turd off halfway, and leaves this broken fragment of a whale sitting in real space. Okay. Does it also hunt down fat chicks? I got to tell you, I don't know the sexual proclivities of the tardigrade augmented recon demolition scavenger space marines, but I would say that they go for the chunky chicks. Just between you and me. Shots of fat women all over the world right there. God damn, it is a wonderful time to have a fat woman in your life, right? She's cooking all the fucking time, and just comfortable. It's like well insulated against famine and so forth. And the thing about dating fat women is that they're like, essentially these are people who lack restraint, and that same lack of restraint comes to fucking too. Like they will drain your dong dry. But I'm supposed to keep this like PG-13, I guess. But shout outs to Streamlabs. Just spamming us with bullshit right there. I think yeah, like I have to fix the Streamlabs link there. But it goes to ZachZYZ1. ZachZYZ at Streamlabs is also me. But they're just, one's the Twitch and one's the YouTube. Anyhow. So the first chapter is all about the sort of introducing the set and this giant whale appearing and them being daunted by it. And in the second chapter, the captain of Marines, or it should be captain of Marines. Yeah. I think originally I was calling him the chief of Marines, but in the second chapter, he has a, that's why I pay you the big bucks load. by that, I mean a $1 per show. That $1 per show is keeping me alive. I've always appreciated your $1 a show. Yeah, I have never, ever in my life felt salty about a patron. Like, people could give me 1 cent a show and I would be super happy for that token of their esteem. But $1 is like 100 cents. So hell yeah. Shout outs to the YouTube show scams. I don't know what that's all about here. But what do we got here? So in chapter 2, we find out that the captain of Marines finds that the tards refuse to go on the whale. So here we learn that these are tardigrade augmented recon demolition salvage marines, which is my way to use the word tards over and over again without getting in trouble. But it won't work. I'll still get in fucking trouble from nerds who don't want space tards to be a thing. But they're out of fucking luck. I'm going to make it a thing. Now, speaking of which, if you look at that logo up there, I'm thinking of making all the letters like a different primary color, like red, blue, green, yellow. And then, I don't know, the last one will be purple or something like that. Maybe take out that little whirl thing. Just to make things look like a little bit more elementary. Okay, so in this chapter, you meet the gunnery sergeant of the Tardigrade Space Marines, Gunny. And then you meet the captain of Marines a little bit more. And then you meet several of the Space Marines and put the letters on puzzle pieces that fit together. A rainbow so that they're gay space tards. Actually, there's it's heavily implied in one of these sentences that they are gay space tards. I should make them black too, so that it could be the GNAA in outer space. Hell yeah. Huh. You know, I would sidestep a lot of the accusations of being ableist if I just made these gay black space marines. All right, so Chad says, get back to editing again. We're working on editing right now. Okay, so not quite human. So this is where the chief of Marines says they won't fly without Bonzo, who has been locked in the brig for the crime of trying to get inside of the ship's reactor because all the tards are fascinated by anything that emits radiation. And they're all fucking obsessed with it and like pray towards it like it's Mecca and so forth. Ugh, what a bunch of lovable rogues right there. Okay, and then we got to chapter 3. So, chapter 3, I think, is the captain of Marines meeting with Bonzo. So, what the chuck? Is that the admiral? Just about the last thing the chief of Marines expected to see in the brig was the admiral's bare and clenching ass, covering an entire wall of Bonzo's cell. All right, so that needs to be indented 1. I don't know why I always don't indent the first line of my chapters. It's a pain in the ass. So Chad says, do I know Too High to comply? Yeah, we know Too High pretty well there. Yeah, I think we know him about as well as we can know anybody right there. Yeah, he's currently laid up in a hospital bed because he was in a severe motorcycle accident not too long ago. But yeah, I met Too High to Comply in back before the election because he was like a fixture in Pound Trump. And so he has like all these catchphrases like high energy as fuck salute, heaps. So just FYI, I don't know if you noticed, but one of the Marines in this story, in fact, the dumbest Marine in this story, is named Heaps. So I'm going to love. Yes, so Chad is saying that the shirt I'm wearing is Pacific Northwest Amerindian art, and it's absolutely true. I got it in Vancouver. Went out there. I still have not railed a native broad, and that's one of my life goals. So I was trying, but I wasn't successful. Shout outs to oh yeah, this is not doing me any favors with with potential readers right here, but it's true. I'm a fucking swine, and that's why I write this way. But what do we got right here? So just about the last thing the chief of Marines expected to see in the brig was the admiral's bare and clenching ass, covering an entire wall of Bonzo's cell. Yup, Bonzo said, his eyes never leaving the display. They were watching the admiral furiously plowing the midshipsmen. I think it's midshipsmen. No, maybe it's midshipmen. Let's what exactly does a midshipman do? I knew this at one time, but I don't know. Naval officer of the lowest rank. Hell yeah. They were watching the admiral furiously plowing the midshipman. Droplets of sweat were running down his temples and flicking off in the perfectly trimmed hairs of his beard. The comm shook his head. Now every time he took an order from the man, he would have to be aware that under the uniform, everything was waxed. Why did you generate the admiral chucking the midshipman? Not generated. This is live, Bonzo said. Bullshit, the comm spat. Here, watch. Pewter, wang the alarm in the midshipman's quarters. At once, the lights in the captain's quarter... yeah, so this would be... Loaded should be midshipman, yeah. A midshipman, oh yeah. Well, the Polybius would be like a pretty small boat. Is there like a... let me see, commissioned officers... Pilot officer. Oh, he's like an ensign. Yeah, so the problem there is if we say we're gonna say the midshipman because there's only one on this boat. The reason why we're doing that is just the way that the it just works a little better. Would they have only one ensign on a boat? How many people are on this fucking craft? I mean, they have a bunch of departments. No, yeah, you're right. Why did you generate the admiral chucking the new midshipman? I can just put the word "noom" there. Okay, so yeah, there we go, Nagy. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And there would probably be like, I don't know. I think there are like 200 or 300 people on the ship. So there would probably be like a couple of ensigns flying around in there. So I think it's totally fair to say it should be A rather than D, because there's only one admiral, and there's only one captain of Marines. But there are probably like a couple of these little Twinkie midshipmen running around there. Here, watch. Pewter, wang the alarm in the midshipmen's quarters. At once, the lights in the midshipmen's... At once, the lights in the room on the display began to flash. The admiral glanced up and frowned and went back to his task, never missing a stroke. The midshipman was so enthralled he didn't even seem to notice. The comm raised an eyebrow. It was even more impressive knowing that none of that was augmentation. That was all admiral. I guess that's why he's the admiral, the comm said, sweeping his hand over his bald head. How the hell did you get access to the en-suite cameras? I've been going a little crazy in here. Pewter's been letting me snoop around. I think she's trying to cheer me up. Pure uncut admiral. The ship's computer is letting you spy on the admiral to cheer you up, the comm said. The comm scoffed. It sounded even more ridiculous out loud. He was not looking forward to reporting this to TechCom. I think she's a little crazy too, Cap, Bonzo said, a distant look in his eyes. She was set to default during the breach. Oh, no wonder she got quiet earlier. Thought she was snubbing me. There was a breach? Yup. The captain of Marines waited, watching Bonzo trying to pretend he wasn't dying to know about the whale. Yeah. Watching Bonzo pretend he wasn't dying to know. Whale? Bonzo finally asked, unable to hold back. The comm nodded, smiling. The boy's already in it? Comm shook his head. He watched Bonzo's brow furrow. Mm-hmm. He watched Bonzo's brow furrow. The pilot's mouth moved when he was thinking hard. Oh, I absolutely wrote this. I mean, a bunch of like homosexual space marines who are also developmentally disabled. Yeah, this is absolutely my story. I don't think anybody else on the planet could write that. Maybe they could, but it would lack that certain je ne sais quoi. Real talk. Such a crazy story. All right, hold up. The boy's already in it? Comm shook his head. He watched Bonzo's brow furrow. The pilot's mouth moved when he was thinking hard. Gunny wouldn't go without me, huh? The comm nodded. What's... I gotta slay that fly. The worst episode of Breaking Bad over here. Just me, like, hunting down a fly instead of editing all fucking day. The comm nodded yes. He was impressed Bonzo had been able to work it out. Ben. He says he needs you. He says he needs you, Bonzo. Oh, somebody had a comma that we were supposed to get earlier yesterday, but I don't have the back scroll here. Too chuck and clever. Yeah, we missed that fucking comma. What? I don't care if Pages is open during the fucking installation. Oh, OS X, what the fuck is your problem? At least that leaping thing went away there. All right, what do we got here? Gunny wouldn't go without me. Huh? I gotta give each of these guys voices, huh? So let's work on. There's not gonna be too much more calm in the story though, but Bonzo, he'd be kind of like wild. I think she's a little crazy too, Cap. Bonzo said, a distant look in his eyes. Oh, no wonder she got quiet earlier. Thought she was snubbing me. Why would he be texting out there in space? They're all Australian. Um, no wonder she got quiet earlier. Thought she was snubbing me. There was a breach. No, that's not quite it. Captain of Marines. Oof. What do we got here? Well, that's a lie. They don't need me. I just chuck everything up. I don't want to go. Horse shit. You know you want to get on that whale. No, I don't. I've been thinking about it. How many TARDs you command, Cap? There are 23 of you, the comm replied, carefully. No. I mean, you had other platoons, right? Before us? This is the 37th. He saw Bonzo concentrating furiously, his mouth working hard. How many is that? 37 crews? 23 TARDs in each? Bonzo squinted, but he couldn't quite get it. Pewter? 851. The answer appeared to project in the space between them, but the comm knew it was just induced into their optic nerves. It's a little more than that, actually. Over 900. Before we settled on 23, we were trying larger units. 50, 60. 50, 60 Marines. I had one that was 100. Wow. 100 TARDs. Must have stank bad. Why'd you stop doing the big ones? The big units were too big for one gunny to manage. They would just splinter and not work together, and then they'd fight each other. When we tried that company of 100, we lost more to infighting than we did in the whale. 23 is the magic number. Well, here's my point, Cap. Out of them 900, who's left? Well, what do you mean left? Gunny asked. How many of them made it? How many are still alive? The captain of Marines paused. It wasn't a question a Tard had ever asked him before. It was rare for one to think ahead further than the next meal. His mind raced ahead to the airlock. If he jettisoned Bonzo now, could he save the rest of the unit? Would they mutiny if he did? He could see himself playing the clip of Bonzo saying he didn't want to go, telling them all he'd gone fussy. He just said to push the problem until after the whale. It might not even be an issue after that. If he was going to lie, why not just lie to Bonzo? Tell him they were all retired. For all Bonzo knew, there was a whole planet of Tards somewhere where they all retired to eat and fight For all Bonzo knew, there was a whole planet of Tards somewhere where they all retired to fight and eat nonstop. Tard Hala. He met Bonzo's gaze. The comm met Bonzo's gaze. None of them are alive, Bonzo, the captain of Marines said, his voice quiet. We keep sending Tards on missions until the whales get them. Then we spawn more. That's how it is. It's the same for me. They'll keep sending me on breaches until one goes Nova. We're the same, you and I. They cook us up to do this, and they keep us flying until we're gone. So the sentence is actually, they cook us up to do this, and then they keep flying us until we're gone. The comm waited to see how Bonzo would take it, very aware that if Bonzo snapped, he would be ripped limb from limb. An image of the reactor stay bar flashed before his eyes, the 2-inch pipe bent like a paperclip. But instead, Bonzo's eyes sought the floor. All gone, he muttered solemnly. Can you even remember them? Some of them, the ones that stood out. Do I stand out? Yep, you and Gunny both, the comm nodded. Bonzo's nose twitched, and he snuffled. Cap wondered if he was about to cry. But Bonzo just shut his eyes tight and took a shuddering breath. It's a pretty big whale, huh, Cap? Oh yeah, it's bigger. Bigger than what? Just bigger. You want to go? Chuck, yeah, I want to go. Who else is going to fly? Lefty, probably. Gunny's not supposed to fly anymore. Lefty's featured. Let me out of here, Cap. You have to promise me. No more rucking with her chucking. It should be chucking. No more cucking with the reactor. Getting cuckolded by a fucking plasma pile. You have to promise me first. No more chucking with the reactor, Bonzo. If you do, we gotta lock you. I understand, Bonzo said with a solemn nod. That's the problem, the captain thought. Okay, so this is a reminder. I forgot that Gunny is not supposed to fly any longer. So we'll need to add that later in the story. In fact, let me make a... we're going to add a comment here because later in the story, I want to... Why is there a rectum symbol behind SPACETARDS, by the way? Well, I didn't see it as a rectum symbol. But maybe you do. Yeah, this is really like the GNAA, the story. It does kind of make sense that their skin would be. I haven't made race a thing at all in the story there, but it would take like literally like 4 words to change them to being gay black Marines from outer space. So welcome to the chat. Wow, this is the first time. They just recently added the ability to see people chatting on Periscope. So shout outs to Columbo Stevens, who is either from South Africa or just really likes Columbo right there. So what we're doing right now is editing a novella. This isn't a script. It's not written, like screenplays are written in a slightly different format. This is a short story that's about 120 pages long. So it gets into the domain of being a novella, right? It's not quite a novel. It would need to be probably about 20,000 words longer before you consider it a real novel. So this is like a little midway piece between 2 larger novels that I'm editing. Yeah, my name's Zach ZYZ. I write fantasy and science fiction and political novels, and they're all available for free on my website, because why the fuck not, Nobody got any money at the moment, and I just want people to be able to check out these books. But I'm strongly considering just going like full all out and having this be the backstory of the GNAA right here. We'll see what the readers. I think we're not going to get any of the intersectionality readers on this one right here. So we might want to consider it right there. All right, so I saw a big chat from Jira right here on Twitch. Wait a second. All the Twitch chats are not coming through in a timely fashion. Wait. Oh, I saw it there. Yeah, it's just taking a second. All right, let me refresh. So Bonzo remembered his past. When he was 6 years old, he was hit by a car while riding his bike to dick sucking practice. I mean, do you really? All right, let me test this motherfucker right here. All right, so yeah, the test sent. Okay. Yeah, I'm not happy with the idea of a 6-year-old having to attend dick sucking practice. It's one of those things where if you make somebody do it as a kid, they'll hate it as an adult. So, yeah, it's fucked up. You fucked up in the game. All right, so we made that. Okay, cool. So I refreshed the console and it didn't send. For whatever reason, one of the Restream chats was censoring your output. Let me take a look at the settings right here. Appearance, spot, filtering. That's what I want. Oh, okay. So I've filtered several users here. Okay, cool. But I didn't block Jira. Okay, so yeah, that's chapter 3, where you get to meet Bonzo, the pilot. And Bonzo is like one of the main characters in this little guy. But really, this story is about the gunnery sergeant, Gunny. So, wow. No, you're not blocked, Jira. I don't know what you're upset about. I just refreshed the whole chat so that I could see your thing. Yeah, the user on Periscope said, hey, I am not from Africa, but I am from Africa, LOL. Hell yeah. Shout out to the original man out there. Yeah, like literally all day, every day. I'm just like listening to reggae and wishing I was in Jamaica at this point. So it says 4. What says 4? Oh, the story. Yeah. This is our 4th chapter. Did I say 3rd? Okay. So the ship's official designation was RATS, Radiation Hardened Analog Transport Spacecraft. But most of the mechanics in the bay called it the TARD Sport. Side by side with the other sleek spacecraft in the shift bay, the RATS seemed almost grotesque, built just as dense and blocky as the Marine she carried. She was painted bright red, which this platoon had inexplicably decided. Shout out to Negi right there.
L0E, you should submit this to the Hugo Awards after doing a find replace on TARD.
Literally, we could just take out the word. I don't know. I think it's still pretty spicy if you don't call it space. Now, you know what this book is? I'm sick of having to take shit out because people will be all like, oh my God, you can't call them tards or whatever. I absolutely can. You know, nobody reads my fucking books. I can get away with this. Just don't go fucking doxing me and shit to the school I work at to fucking... Somebody eventually will. You know, it's just a matter of time. But yeah, like one of the things I want you to see throughout this story is that I have much love for these very special space marines. So let's roll through it. She was painted. The RATS was painted bright red, which this platoon. This is the 37th platoon. Which the 37th platoon had inexplicably decided meant good luck. This is just me ripping off Warhammer right here. The way that space orcs think that red things go faster. That's like one of my favorite conceits. Like, say what you want about their exploitive practices and their horrible fucking copyright management and the fact that their little toys cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Those guys write good fucking lore. Like, they really are top notch with some of their stupid shit right there. And yeah, I like that in the grim darkness of the future, there's still room for some comedy. They just have like a whole race of orcs, space orcs, fucking ridiculous. And that they spelled it with a K so that Tolkien wouldn't sue him. People can't take a joke anymore. Write whatever you want, man. Don't let them stop your creativity. Yeah, like, that's what I've done thus far. And I don't know if you noticed, but there are not a lot of people viewing this stream at the moment. And like I think if my friends in publishing ever found out who I really was, they would have to like disavow my entire existence. Isn't that also from Gundam? 3 times as red, 3 times as fast? Huh. Yeah, maybe that's where they stole it from. Because they were not shy about just stealing ideas at old Warhammer. They came up with a bunch of shit on their own, but they also just stole shit, like, unrelentingly. All right. So the RATS was painted bright red, which the 37th platoon had inexplicably decided meant good luck. The captain of Marines had learned to always go along with anything cosmetic the TARDs wanted. There were often unexpected benefits. He was watching the load-in from the observation window high above the ship bay. The engineers were scurrying all over the deck in their bright yellow rad suits. Well, it is late. People got drunk and passed out. It's early over here. It's like 6 a.m. right here. Char's Red Zaku. I've never seen Gundam at all. I think I'm probably too old to take a gander at it at this point. Yeah, I'm at the age where the only anime that I consume is about middle-aged men having sex with schoolgirls. So here we are. Who are 18, by the way. I'm just putting it out there. I digress, but there really is a whole lot of that fucking anime floating around on Netflix. Fucking Japanese pornography cartoons. Jiro with the uwu. I will tell you though, like real talk and so forth. I've dated a few people who are like 23 to 26 at my advanced age right here. Look at this fucking beard and so forth. And it's like the gap is so big between the two of them, like the gulf of experiences and so forth, that it's like almost impossible to go out with that person. And like I have no idea how somebody would ever manage like dating somebody who's actually in high school. Like, God, you just feel so creepy. Um, for the people who drink all night and sleep all day, it's early for us workers. Oh shit! Shout outs to Columbo there, who is an essential worker. I still have to work every fucking day too. I'm apparently essential, but I still feel useless because I'm at my house. You know what I mean? So he's waiting for the stock market to open. Hell yeah! Gouge those, sell short, ride this thing all the way to the bottom. Oh, I can't wait. I mean, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be like a rough fucking decade. It'll literally like take a decade to get over this whole thing, and we're gonna have to change so many things about the way that things work out. Oh hell yeah! Thank you for supporting the stream earlier, Negi. Okay, so the engineers were scurrying all over the deck in their bright yellow rad suits. The tards were already suited up and horsing around in the decom area. The comm could pick out each Marine by the paint job on his helmet. Lefty had a roaring lion. Okay, that may be important later. Lefty had a roaring lion. Heaves had a pork chop surrounded by an aura of flame. Filthy had a phallic serpent with angel wings flying over a starfield. Okay, so I don't think we explain what happens to Filthy in the story. They passed 3 trillion, most going to corporate. I mean, they're just printing the fucking money at this point. You know, like you don't get to do that. Like the dollar will be worth a quarter of what it is right now. All the people with like fucking IRAs and who are like yeah, we got to keep pace with inflation. All the people that were saving money and not putting it into buying video games and equipment for their internet radio show are looking real dumb right about now. That's all I'm saying. So I'm going to put in a comment here. So we have, I made a manifest of all the Marines. There are 23 different Marines, and I think almost all of them are named during the story. So I've got like a syllabus there, but I think we forget about this guy, Filthy, who has a phallic serpent with angel wings flying over a starfield. This is a shout out to my friend Filthy McNasty. Big Brendan, you know where you at. So Gunny's helmet bore a cartoon of his own scowling face with a word balloon that said, "Don't chuck up," in big radioluminescent letters. That should be quoted. That one was the comm's favorite. That was the comm's favorite. I like on the back of his helmet, he's got a picture of his own fucking face that says, "Don't fuck up." So Negi is asking, why isn't this show on the LRH channel? Yeah, the LRH audience, by and large, are not readers for the most part. And like this is one where I'm not playing a character, right? On LRH, that character is basically like all the bad things inside of me, just manifested into a demonic radio host. And here, I'm just like a regular person. You know, this is who I am in most of my day to day, where people aren't fucking with me. Like LRH is like where all the black goes, and this is the shining and white radio display. I don't know. I do try to compartmentalize those two parts of myself. Warriors do not read books. All right, so Columbo is going for a smoke run. Kind of. Oh, I'm gonna kill your fucking ass, fly. Oh, motherfucker! All right, hold on. Well, I'm gonna slay this motherfucker. Watch this shit. He got away. 2 young lovers still smoking meth every day. So Spathywah has a call coming up. What time is it right now? Oh, I can probably get another couple hours of editing in here. So helmet heralds were an idea that so this is where capitalizing herald radiation pays off, because I love that they call them helmet heralds. I don't like that the similarity between the things. But I think we can just float it there. We only use the helmet heralds were an idea the Com had come up with all the way back in his 9th platoon. The 9th had been exploring a Gelt whale, which is their unofficial designation for whales with no interior lighting. Shoutouts to all the international bankers in our audience right there. This one is for you. In the dark and uncertain conditions inside the alien hulk, the TARDs had a hard time telling each other apart. Attempting to solve the problem, the Com had experimented with luminescent name tags and ordered formations, but they hadn't really worked. Even assigning each TARD a number and putting it as a even assigning each Marine a number and putting a giant decal on every TARD had failed. Even assigning each Marine a number and putting a giant decal on every TARD had flopped. On everyone had flopped. TARDs tended to forget how letters and numbers worked in the thick of the action. The breakthrough came when the Gunny Yeah, one of the problems I'm having is like the display that has the chat on it is like right over here on my left eye. It's hard to focus on the chat. I may have to do some rearranging for how all this shit works out. I think it worked a little bit better when I was like squinting off into the distance, but well, I can make this work somehow, some way. I keep coming up with funky ass shit like every single day. May I? Okay. Helmet heralds were Helmet heralds were an idea the Com came up with all the way back. Yeah. So it should have been 9th platoon. Past perfect, yeah. Yeah, it does need to be past perfect. Helmet heralds were an idea that the Com had come up with for his 9th platoon. The 9th had been exploring a Gelt whale, which was their unofficial designation for whales with no interior lighting. In the dark and uncertain conditions inside the alien hulk, the TARDs had a hard time telling each other apart. Attempting to solve the problem, the Com had experimented with luminescent name tags and ordered formations, but they hadn't really worked. Even assigning each Marine a number and painting it in. Ninth platoon sounds like it's both. Yeah, it's both. They just number the platoons. Like this is the 37th platoon that has existed at this point, and just every time they wipe one, they just start over. The Com had experimented with luminescent name tags and unordered formations, but they hadn't really worked. Oh yeah, you fly motherfucker. Boom! Now you dead. Got him. Fucking got him. See you in hell, fly. Okay. Yeah, I have no sympathy for flies. I'll never make a Jane. The Ninth Platoon. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. That's a good edit. Helmet heralds were an idea the Com had come up with for the Ninth Platoon. The Ninth had been exploring a Gelt whale, which was... What? He fucking survived? Oh no. That can't be. Sorry, fucking neighbors. All this banging around. And yeah, I can't... That dude got drilled with a full force Clark's World. Right over here. Shots to Clark's World, by the way. And somehow took that licking and kept on ticking, but he could not survive round 2. So shout outs to the champ. That feel when no editing in YouTube chat. Wait, is the YouTube chat not popping up on the screen? Oh yeah, it's still fucking there. Okay. Oh, you can't just directly edit the story. I thought about doing that. Just using like some kind of collaborative editor where people could pop up just fucking suggestions and so forth within the thing, but I'm not sure if that would be distracting or not. We should have tried it with this story because this is like, it's not like a serious work. You know what I mean? This is just to have fun. So but this is one where the need for past perfect. The unofficial lingo for whales with no interior lighting. The Ninth had been exploring a Gelt whale, the unofficial lingo for whales with no interior lighting. Yeah, they're chocolate inside. Oh, it means I can't edit my messages. Oh, yeah. Somehow we'll make it through. In the dark and uncertain conditions inside the alien hulk, the TARDs had a hard time. The TARDs of the Ninth had a hard time telling each other apart. So I don't want to do had there, but it's technically correct. In the dark and uncertain conditions of the alien hulk, the TARDs of the Ninth had a hard time. Yeah, we definitely don't want of the Ninth. Attempting to solve the problem, the Comet experimented with luminescent name tags and ordered formations, but they hadn't really worked. Even assigning each Marine a number and painting it in giant letters on their helmet. And flopped. TARDs tended to forget how letters and numbers worked in the thick of the action. Okay, that's better. Yeah, this was a rough paragraph right there. The breakthrough had come when the breakthrough had come when the gunny of the Ninth Platoon began painting insulting pictographs on the back of each TARD's helmet in tritium paint. Immediately, the confusion had ended. Almost as immediately, a dozen arguments had broken out over which TARD got to be Peckerhead. You got a dozen guys fighting over who gets to be Mr. Black. Love it. The breakthrough had come when the gunny in the 9th platoon began painting insulting pictographs on the back of each TARD's helmet in tritium paint. Immediately, the confusion had ended. Almost as immediately, a dozen arguments had broken out over which TARD got to be Peckerhead. The comm had refined the idea, letting each TARD choose his own heraldry for his helmet. He'd ordered engineers to execute the actual painting. TARDs weren't much for arts and crafts. The helmet project had honestly just been a way to... Okay. The helmet project had honestly just been a... Oh, yeah. The helmet project had mostly been a way to kill time, as the whaler coasted in search of glimmers of radiation in the void. But it had turned out... Yeah, all these sentences so fucking unwieldy here. All right. Whew. The Helmet Project had... The Helmet Herald Project had mostly been a way to kill time as the whaler coasted in search of glimmers of radiation. The Helmet Herald Project had mostly been a way to kill time as the whaler coasted through the void in search of glimmers of radiation, but it turned out to be a massive success. Morale was appreciably better, and survival rate rose significantly. Later, the comm learned that desire to keep from scuffing up their prized helmets curtailed the TARD's proclivity for headbutting things. This led to a sharp reduction in decompression deaths. Instituting the policy for every platoon after the 9th was a no-brainer. The TARDs of the 37th were loading into the rats now in groups of 3. Gunny and Bonzo would load in last. Some of the Marines were waving to the comm as they climbed aboard. He waved back. Morale was everything. He never missed a load-in. Lieutenant Genie was the technical officer in charge of the load-in, and he trusted her to get it right. The TechCom LT was a favorite of the TARDs. Not only did her squad maintain all their gear, but she was the one that painted all their helmets. She'd been a tattoo artist before she joined the Navy, and she'd understood the importance of the project at once. And she understood the importance of the heralds at once. She would sit down for up to an hour with each Marine, discussing his particular vision. The TARDs adored her for it. The captain of Marines had never... The captain of Marines had never seriously considered getting a tattoo before he assumed command. Now that he was forgetting to get one, of course that was all he wanted. He sometimes daydreamed about sitting down with LT Genie, explaining what he wanted. Of course, it really wasn't about a tattoo at all. Of course, it wasn't really about the tattoo. When he spoke with her, he was careful to keep his eyes on hers, to not follow the lines of ink that led down her neck. There were waivers for tattoos, but not for fraternization. Real talk. LT Genie's got it going on. Guiding his mind away from those perilous waters, the comm looked around the bay, making sure the load-in was proceeding according to regs. He would take a pretty spectacular chuck-up to disable a rats, but this was, after all, the Navy. Spectacular chuck-ups were their forte. Like the Marines it carried, the rats was built for hardship. It was heavily shielded against Herald radiation, able to pass through the killing aura. Able to pass through the killing aura that would disable a regular spacecraft as far as zero point 0.1 light minutes away from a big whale. Herald radiation wreaked havoc on electrical system. Yeah, Herald radiation wreaked havoc on electrical systems. So every control on the rats was manual and mechanical. There was no fly-by-wire, no AI guidance. The ship was propelled by a chemical rocket engine and maneuvered with manual thrusters. It was a devil to fly, but Bonzo could do it. So here is the primary conceit of this story. That the radiation aura that surrounds whales disables fucking anything digital whatsoever. Any kind of like computer system does not fucking work inside of the whale. So everything that the Marines are bringing in there to try and explore these things, all analog, baby. Hell yeah. So Screwstone YT says, if I can make you laugh, I get $10 on Cash App deal. Well, so here's a kind of paradox right here, because I'll be laughing, but I'll be laughing at you after promising to give you the $10, and then I won't give you the $10. And I think that's funny. So yeah, decide for yourself if you want to try and make me laugh. So wait, where's the Simpsons reference? There. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see it, Neggy. So it wasn't intentional if it is in there. The comm couldn't. He'd secretly spent a week in the simulator, trying to pull off. Trying to fly one of the training missions. He wanted to understand what his Marines were up against. He failed miserably. I said something that didn't appear. LT Surge. It's weird. Yeah, I don't know why. It's something with the Restream interface. Like some of the chats are not propagating. I'm definitely noticing. And they're appearing on like one of my consoles, but not on the other. Let me see. What do we got here? LT Genie. I want LT. I want capital LT because we're doing, like, for the Chief of Marines, we're doing COM and so forth. Ooh, that's a good question. Is she a fucking lieutenant or is she an LT? Let's just keep it at LT because back in the day, I did my, like, people would just be, yo, LT, etc. Yeah, it really should be lieutenant. I think you're fucking right. Well, the thing is also, I want people to read and say it as LT. I don't want them to say Lieutenant Genie. But it says right up here, fucking Lieutenant Genie. All right. All right, we're going to do Lieutenant of Titty. Yeah, we're just going to do LT Genie for all of them. Yeah. You're absolutely right, Neggy. Look at Neggy over here, fucking holding our feet to the fire over here. Oh shit, we also went way ahead in the story. There, like we were like 5 chapters ahead of ourselves. All right, so chapter 4, Filthy's flying dick serpent. That's fucking amazing. Sharply curtailed the tard's proclivity for headbutting things. Like that they're in this fucking like alien Hulk and headbutting thing. Lieutenant of Tards. It would be good. She can't be the lieutenant of Tards. Uh, yeah, I think we're gonna go with LT. Yeah, Tecum, that can be all capital. We'll keep an eye out for it. Wait, did I add? No, there's not a superfluous space. I like that the captain is attracted to LT Genie, but he won't let himself be an asshole about it. The comm couldn't. The captain of Marines couldn't fly the rats. He'd secretly spent a week in the simulator trying to fly one of the training missions. He wanted to understand what his Marines were up against. He failed miserably, even when he cheated and lowered the force feedback on the controls so they could be worked with a regular human strength. Again and again, he cratered the rats or spun it out of control or failed to link up before he burned too much fuel to get home. Bonzo, on the other hand, was a natural, with a 97% success rate on even the most challenging sims. Lefty could only pull 85% on the medium difficulty. And the Lefty could only pull 85% on the medium difficulty, and Deuce, the backup pilot, was even worse. No, yeah, let's take this. Okay, so here we're gonna make Deuce the co-pilot in this. Let's see. The co-pilot Deuce could only pull 85% on the medium difficulty. Okay, so Columbo is back. Something happened with his sound. Maybe we're deafened by the COVID. Shit. Ever the outlier, Bonzo's helmet had no device. It was simply painted the same candy apple red as his ship. He and Gunny both waved at the com. All right, so here we want Bonzo and Gunny. Yeah. Bonzo and Gunny both waved at the captain of Marines as they loaded in, ready to fly where no man could go. This is what the TARDS unit was all about. They could do what men could not. Yeah, they're a platoon, not a unit. I unplugged the wired internet and messed stuff up. Oh. I could probably troubleshoot that, but I'm not gonna. Okay. They could do what men could not. A normal human couldn't even survive strapping into one of their spacesuits. First, They would be crushed. A TARD suit was over 150 kilos without the air tanks and offered no assistance from powered exoskeletons or servos. Even a hypothetical peak specimen who could don their armor without having the breath crushed out of him would... Oh, you unplugged his amp also. Damn. Got some serious fucking tech support needed over there. This was what the TARDS platoon was all about. They could do what men could not. A normal human couldn't even survive strapping into one of their spacesuits. They would be crushed. A TARD suit was over 150 kilos without the air tanks and offered no assistance from powered exoskeletons or servos. From servos or powered exoskeletons. Even a hypothetical peak specimen who could don their armor without having the breath squeezed out of them would swiftly succumb to acute radiation poisoning. TARD suits couldn't rely on electrical heating, so they were studded with dozens of radioisotope heating units. Okay, so to me, this is fucking badass, right? They're wearing these giant armored spacesuits, right? All the shit is fucking analog. They just got like scuba tanks on their back, and because they don't have active heating, they're just covered with dozens of little radioisotope heating units, right? Like they're the fucking Mars rover out there, just covered with fucking I don't know, what are we using those things, like plutonium essentially. Let's take a look at radioisotope heaters. So radioisotope thermoelectric generators, heat released by the decay of a suitable radioactive element. So they're plutonium-238. This is what we used for the Cassini missions. So they insulated this under a graphite blanket for a few minutes, and then they removed the blanket. The pellet is glowing red hot, not because of the heat generated by radioactive decay, and the initial output is like 62 watts. So just imagine these guys, their armor completely fucking studded with radioisotope heaters. To me, that's like I really like that idea. The captain of Marines watched the tug powering up, preparing to tow the rats. All right, so the tug would take the TARDS as far as the flame horizon. Shout outs to League of Legends right there. The edge of herald radiation and the point of no return for traditional spacecraft. Too often, it was the point of no return for the platoon as well. Of the 36 previous platoons, 19 had simply been lost on their first venture in. They'd enter the whale and never come back out again. 52.78%. The captain of Marines would have offered a prayer, but he didn't know how. Damn, son. Damn. So do I bring my stories to life? Sadly, I'm not able to reenact the story by flying around in my own analog spacecraft and exploring alien hulks. But I don't know what you mean by delight. I've done audiobooks for like one of my books. I should really be reading others, but I'm a real pussy about fucking actually getting in the recording booth. Like I built it and I haven't done anything with it. Ugh, I should work on that. What do we got right here? So what time is it right now? 7:18. What do you guys feel like? Well, yeah, let's fucking do chapter 5 right here. So chapter 5. Lefty, come here, Gunny signed. Mango looked up from rigging the door charge, and Gunny made the whirling palm. This should be palm whirling. So one of the interesting things is because they spend so much time working in vacuum, the TARDS communicate a lot in sign language. Oh, like animations right there. Now, I would love to get an animation for survival mode. That's my very first novella that I put out. That'd be so fucking dope. It really, the story like lends itself so well to like an anime style thing. But I just, I don't have the money to pay for fucking animation. I'm relatively poor. I live in New York City. and rent is astronomical, preposterous, humongous, gigantic, inconceivable. It's fucking out there. Hold up, I got some messages on IRC. Somebody in the political channel. Oh, it's just fucking Incog blogging about me. Yeah, I'd love to see that. All right, what do we got here? So then I got a new message from what fucking Discord tabletop? Fuck off. I don't care about that shit. I'm much more concerned with the chatters that we have here. Yeah, I would fucking love to make like an animated version of some of this stuff. What about when everybody in New York City dies? Won't things be cheaper? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I hope everybody doesn't fucking die, but they're working on it. Yeah. I'm about to go to the bodega myself and brush with that coronavirus, but I want a fucking muffin. So, you know, therein lies the rub. So yeah, there's that fucking potentiality. But yeah, I've thought about just like maybe I could spend like 3 or 4 months getting better at sketching, like on an iPad or something, and just like live sketch some of these stories as they're being read. I knew a girl that did like live sketching for board meetings and stuff like that, and she was, I say knew a girl, but I was sleeping with her, and yeah, she was pretty fucking amazing artist, to tell you the truth. She did these amazing sculptures that were like very abstract, and she did welding and so forth, and she like bicycled everywhere she went and went swimming every day, and just smelled like sweat all the fucking time, and I could not get enough of her. Yeah, she was an interesting lady. She had some kind of intestinal cancer and had like crazy scars from where they had like the IV into her, and had scar, like, I hope I'm not doxing this person who I liked a lot, but she had like wild scars on her torso where they'd had to remove like I guess feet of her intestines as a result. I think it was colon cancer that she had there. And the first time that we ever slept together, she had to be like, "Oh, be careful with the scars and so forth," which was like a really compelling movement. And she was like self-conscious about them, but I just thought she looked fantastic. So she was kind of like she had like a hippie thing going on. Her bed was like a loft, and there are, you know, she had like built it herself. It was like lofted over a desk. She lived in a warehouse type situation, and all their welding gear was outside. And there were other artists sort of living there with them, and their house was like all sandy, and you know, had kind of like that patchouli thing going on and everything. But I liked her. I thought she was pretty amazing. She broke up with me on the night after like two things happened. We went to a Nigerian restaurant, and she ordered a whole fish, and they served it to her, and it hadn't been gutted. And she like opened the fish, and the entrails were in it, and she just had this look like she just turned green. And I was like, ooh, that's a rough one right there. And it was just, you know, like one of those bad meals. And something about going out with women, if they're gonna break up with you, like after you take them to a bad meal, that's when it's gonna happen right there. Like a bad meal just has there's like some powerful effect on getting a bad meal that really disappoints people. I think if you have just my advice out there to all you young men out there, maybe even if you're married or something like that, but if you go out to dinner or something and have a bad meal, you should just be like, hey, I'll see you tomorrow, all right? And just call it for the fucking night, because you about to get fucking broke up on. Yeah, that's happened to me like a couple times. Like a bad meal has like heralded the end of a relationship there. But yeah, like I still think about that girl from time to time. The other thing that happened that night was that, well, let me not tell the world about that one, but you know, dream on it. But some twisted shit went down, and yeah, a lot of things went wrong there. I used to be like much more of an asshole to women, right? It really took me until I was like late in the game before I started to have like a real comprehension of other people's feelings. And I'm still not great at it. But yeah, I just used to be such a fucking asshole, and I probably still am and have a long way to go. but I think I've improved a teeny tiny bit. Um, but yeah, I should have been nicer. Like pretty much, I look back at all of my relationships that I've been through, and all I could think for most of the ones was like, I could have done a better job of that. You know, I could have been nicer to this person. I didn't have to fuck things up quite that way, but I always do. All right, what do we got, Evan? So Columbo says, I broke up with my ex after she bought me a t-shirt for my birthday. Lol. So this is like an interesting one right there. It's like, it's very difficult to give gifts, right? There's a book called, and I always reference this fucking book when I'm meeting somebody new. There's a book called like The 5 Love Languages. And it's pretty froofy. Like if you look at it, it's like got a lavender cover with script writing on it. It's like the kind of book that you see a fat lady who has 8 cats reading on the subway. But it's by like a marriage counselor who has been in the trenches for a while there. And so the book posits that people like to give and receive affection in like what he's isolated to be these 5 different languages. And the 5 languages are giving gifts. They are physical touch. They are words of affirmation. They are acts of service. And what was that last fucking one? Quality time. Those 5 things are what he isolated as being the thing that, so everybody has like one thing that they really need to be in a relationship. Like if you're with old Zach ZYZ, I will wither like a plant if there's not any like physical touch in the relationship. If somebody's not like, hey, you know, good job there or whatever there, I just don't feel it. Like if I get to the end, I've gotten to the end of fucking fantastic first dates with women who are super smart and just you know, like incredible women. And then they're the type of women that they don't kiss or hug on the first date or whatever. And I've walked away from those dates. I'm like, well, that was a fucking waste of my time and a failure, right? Because without that like tangible element to it, it doesn't feel real to me. And I dated a woman for a long time where her thing was like quality time, which the book writes down as basically like time where the other person is the focus of your attention, where you're doing something. You could be like sitting in the same fucking room, reading books together, but every so often you like look over at each other and like, yeah, we're here, you know. Or you could be like side by side at the controls of a Boeing 777, flying it into the World Trade Center together. Those are like examples of quality time. And I did not know about this book at that time. And so she would all the time be like, I'm so fucking lonely all the time. And I didn't understand. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, right in this other room here, playing video games, you know, like you want to do something? I'll come over, you know. And it just didn't fucking work out. So giving gifts is something that I like to do for other people. I like to like think about something that would be nice for them and really like deep think about something that they would like and spend some time on it and try to pick out something that's meaningful for them and give it to them. But if you do the same thing to me, like if you spend a lot of time picking something out for me, and it's hard to do because I just buy all the shit that I want anyway, then for a long time I would just be like, oh, okay, thank you. Like I would like the gift and be happy that they had spent some time, but it didn't like reach me on that level, right? So this long-winded thing is when you, so anyhow, like this girl didn't understand that to you, like one of the ways that you want somebody to show that they care about you is by giving you shit. And it is hard to give a gift. It's really like a skill that you build up. And it's also difficult to receive a gift. Because a lot of times people will look at like a shirt or something, you know, like some little tiny thing that somebody has given you. Like a gift that I got recently from a girl I'm dating was like a hat, right? It was just like a wool knit hat. It costs $30, right? But I love that fucking hat because my head was cold and I needed a second hat, and I just would like never really quite found one that was like right. And I'd always be like, I should go get a hat or something like that. But they would just have like a fucking New York logo on them, or I just was too lazy. And like, so it wasn't something that I had done. Like some of the best gifts are things that you wouldn't get for yourself, but didn't like realize that you need until the other person got it for you. And so Negi says, unless that gift is HIV, I almost only date women who are like 3 or 4 years younger than me, because ones that are my same age are too smart to go out with me. I need ones that are gullible and inexperienced, at least a little bit there. It's not true. But also, um, there's also like a logistical component to that, is that if I ever want to have children dating somebody who's older than me at this point, it's not really going to work out for the most part. Get myself a SPACETARDS hat. Well, we'll see with the story. Well, I've gotten fucking derailed from editing there for a hot second there. But yeah, the book that I'm talking about there, it's a good book. I think he's onto something there, and like recognizing people need this type of thing, and that if you're not giving it to them, they're not satisfied in the relationship. It really, like, thinking about what the other person needs, even if it's not exactly, I mean, all these things are an approximation, but it's a big part of holding something together, is like checking in with the other person and finding out if they're happy and so forth. Whew. It's hard, man. It's hard, and like, I got to tell you, the whole virus thing is making the situation much worse. This is going to do a lot of damage to a lot of people. A lot of relationships aren't going to survive this thing. I think in China, they just had this massive wave of divorces after the quarantine from people who had to be in close proximity, and they just couldn't fucking handle each other. So it's a tough one, man. I would like to not die alone, but we'll see how this works out. So Columbo says, I was talking about this girl who draws. I bet you I'm a better artist. Well, that's an interesting proposal right there, because the girl who draws, while she's classically trained as an artist, she like went to art school and so forth, potentially is like less good of a certain type of art. Like, she might be less good at photorealistic drawing than you are. But when you want to say better artist, it's difficult. I mean, is there really an objective scale of what kind of, because the type of art that she's doing, like three-dimensional sculptures, a lot of them being like yarn and fabric and shit like that, probably you can't hang with this lady in her world of doing that kind of art, because she's like getting grants and getting her shit in galleries and so forth. She's playing the game, right, at a level that maybe you are, but it's, I don't know, is your shit in a gallery or whatever? So think about it there. Art school is BS. I'm a natural talent. All right, you can link one of your pieces of art, and I'll take a gander at it right there. But I have to tell you, if I don't like it, or if I think that your shit is not up to snuff, like, I'm a brutal critic. So venture if you want, but I work with some real ass artists in my time. So good luck. I'm telling you, I'm gonna make a logo. Well, we have our logo right up there. I made this one, SPACETARDS. It's got the space sphincter and everything. It's dope. But yeah, like, just keep in mind, there are a lot of kinds of art there, and while there are definitely people who are objectively better at a particular style than others, it's hard to be like, I'm the greatest artist and so forth, because you'll almost always be wrong. Especially in terms of fucking financial success there. You would be surprised at which artists that are actually able to make a living doing their art and so forth is very difficult. And I would watch out for those motherfuckers, because they'll sneak up on you. All right, let's try to get through chapter 5 now that we've completely derailed our whole thing. No need. You need to paint a picture. I will paint you a picture. All right. Well, yeah, definitely. If you feel like painting, the SPACETARDS see this screen right here. This is 1920 by 1080. That's a 16 by 9 thing. If you paint a SPACETARDS logo, and like maybe, I don't know, some TARD Space Marines fucking exploring an alien whale or something like that, we'll throw it on the screen. But so Negi says, Columbo, can you draw me pregnant bitches in hentai getting fisted? Damn. That's fucking advanced right there. It does sound like a good afternoon, but I digress. All right, so chapter 5. Lefty, come here, Gunny signed. Bango looked up from rigging the door charge, and Gunny made the palm-whirling, keep-going sign. Bango noticed the movement of Gunny's gauntlet and looked up from rigging the door charge. Gunny made the palm-whirling keep going sign and indicated he wanted the other Marine. Lefty was carrying a cycle saw, and Gunny was bombarding him with a profane, gesticulated goulash of insults and commands. From the gauntleted hands of the gunnery sergeant, the elegant universal sign language of the body poets came through as tortured as a peacock in a cockfight, slurred and drunken. Tracking slurred and drunken from his heavily armored fingers. Printer paper art. All right. Watch out for that old cocaine. All right, I'm going to look this up. I don't even... maybe I got to put an @ symbol in front of this motherfucker. Nastia Brock. Printer paper art. All right, so there's a picture of a dog or whatever. You're just getting started. Come on now. You're not fooling me. Shit, you're like a year or two in. You got a ways to go, is what I'm going to say here. Like, don't give up. Oh, this is all right. He's got a picture of fucking what looks like Conor McGregor and some dude with a scar. That one looks all right there. But yeah, you're just a novice, man. Wait, who's this? He's got a baby with a swastika on his forehead. You think what printer paper art thinks you like fucking MGK won the Eminem beef? No, get out of here. The only thing he won in that beef was like anybody paying attention to him at all because the rap is trash. All right, but mostly do portraits, but I can do any form of art. Nigga, you a novice. You know, you ain't fooling yours truly right there. You got a long way to go. But yeah, I'm like, if you keep at it like 2 or 3 years or something, you'll be pretty decent. You know, like you're getting some of the groundwork is there, but you have a long way to go before you can fuck with the likes of old Zach ZYZ's ex-girlfriends. Anyhow, from the gauntleted hands of the gunnery sergeant, the elegant universal sign language of the body poets came through as tortured as a peacock in a cockfight. His signing tracked slurred and drunken from... His signs came out slurred and drunken from his heavily armored fingers. A poet would have wept, but there were no poets on this irradiated alien hulk. Okay, so this paragraph right here is the most pretentious paragraph in this book. I would be careful. So Columbo says, so Negi says to show it on stream, but I'm not rigged up to do that at the moment here. So you can browse to his Instagram right there. So I don't want to say that I don't think it's all good. I just think that you're a beginner in the realistic portraiture game. So, you know, I'm not going to make a judgment as to good or bad. I see some good things. I see some bad things. I think you got a lot of work to do on perspective and sort of a lot of work to do on the fine detail of your lines. And frankly, like a lot of work to do with your composition selection and so forth. Like you were just getting started. You're a young man, obviously. And the thing about technical drawing is that it takes thousands and thousands of hours of doing this to get any good at all. Right? Everybody starts off bad. Even fucking Picasso was trash to start off with. Now he's a prodigy. He spent like just tons of time and became amazing at a very young age, right? Like you look at his shit and it's fucking incredible. But everybody's got to put the time in to get good. And what I'm saying here, like not making a judgment, good or bad, you have not even begun to put the time in yet. So he drew a yaoi picture of a man showing his butthole. I do like that. I liked his like, what was it like Connor versus Aldo? I think it's Aldo that has the weird scar on his cheek. Anyhow. Yeah, like yeah, but I definitely would not go around like talking about I'm a better artist than whatever. Yeah, the time to diss other artists is like 4 or 5 years from now minimum. Although artists can have like a really amazing progression in their art. I know a guy who, and he's actually the guy that did the cover for Survival Mode, used to be an actor on soap operas, and he was getting older. He was like a little bit older than I am, and he was having a hard time getting roles because they were going to younger guys. And he was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm gonna go back to drawing. And he, hadn't drawn professionally ever, and literally like sat down and just spent a year working on drawing, and became fucking amazing at it. Like he did the cover for Survival Mode, and he also did the cover for I licensed a piece of art that was just perfect for another book that we're going to edit next. And now he's doing like card designs for like Magic cards and Netrunner and shit. He's a very accomplished artist. A super nice guy, by the way. Like his name is Clark Huggins, and if you want to commission some art, his rates are like very reasonable. He's super cool to work with. He's like an awesome dude. Yeah, big much love for that guy. But yeah, so you can progress relatively quickly there if you put the time in. But this comes up a lot when I run like rap contests and so forth, and just everybody can tell how hard you have worked on something, how much time you have put in, and what stage you're at your development. Right here, like I work very hard on my novels and so forth, but there are other writers who have gone to like college for this shit that work harder than I am, and you can tell, or that are just better at it, or whatever. Even after I've spent like years and years doing it, writers who would know, like that you can't get away with this fucking paragraph right here. From the gauntleted hands of the gunnery sergeant, the elegant universal sign language of the body poets came through as tortured as a peacock in a cockfight. Right? That shouldn't be there, but I love that fucking construct. I'm not letting it go. His signs came out slurred and drunken. No, you know what? Yeah, we just don't need that line. Okay, that's better. Tortured as a peacock in a cockfight. Universal Sign Language, capitalized. Universal Sign Language. Because you would capitalize English, right? So you would also like. I believe that you would like. So the equivalent would be like modern standard Arabic. Let's Google that. I believe that you capitalize each word. Yeah, modern. See where it's like MSA, modern standard Arabic. So in languages, when they're like that, you capitalize each of the different words in it. It looks weird. It looks weird, but it's also correct. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like it also, part of why it looks weird is the elegant. So we have that adjective in front of it. Universal sign language of the body poets, right? It takes me out of the story. Hmm. Yeah, I think this is. I think I've rewritten this line like several times. Honestly, um, it's so fucking clunky, and I see why you're getting knocked out of the story right here. Uh, yeah, maybe we need to change the word replacement hand gestures. Some other name that I think we gotta drop the body poets line. Hmm. Whew, that's a fucking hard one right here. Slurred through the gunnery sergeant's armored gauntlets. Hmm. So I like where we I like slurred through the gunnery sergeant's armored gauntlets. We're just mangling this fucking paragraph here. Well, so what do we want to say here? I don't know. I'm not a writer. I'm a math guy. Yeah, I hear you. So slurred through the gunnery sergeant's armored gauntlets. I love the peacock in a cockfight construct. I'm not gonna get rid of that one. And I think we have to have see. So here's our problem, right? I know that this particular thing is knocking you out of the story, but it's absolutely correct to capitalize all three lines of Universal Sign Language, um, and also like it's a very difficult clarity point to convey that there's some kind of like international Universal Sign Language or whatever. We can't go too deep onto this, but I think this is a slight improvement. A poet would have wept. Uh, a body poet would have wept, but there were no poets on this irradiated alien Hulk. No, that doesn't fucking work. I like that. All right, so I'm okay with this paragraph now. Let's try reading it out here. Slurred through the gunnery sergeant's armored gauntlets, the elegant universal sign language. So what I want to say is like, I want to say like it read or it tracked as fucking signals, not signs. There's a typo. Jesus fucking Christ. Ah. Gunny got his attention and began bombarding him with a profane, gesticulated goulash of insults and commands. Okay. Slurred through the gunnery sergeant's armored gauntlets, the elegant universal sign language became as tortured. Yeah. Became is not the right word there. Oh, what is this? There's a word. We want like tracked or was as tortured as a peacock in a cockfight. I hate to have as, but slurred through the gunnery sergeant's armored gauntlets, the elegant universal sign language was as tortured as a peacock in a cockfight. A poet would have wept, but there were no poets. But there were no poets on this irradiated alien hulk. Lefty had the expression that was so familiar to Gunny, the tarred squint of open-mouthed incomprehension. There were 3 tards in the 37th platoon who were too... This is a mixed metaphor. Elegant things aren't slurred. Well, it's supposed to be a contrasted metaphor. So the sign language is supposed to be elegant, but when he speaks it, it's like a fucking peacock in a cockfight. This could definitely be said better, right? But it's another thing is like we don't want to like endlessly fixate on one line. We do want to get this thing out there. I do like just turning it. Slurred through the gunnery sergeant's armored gauntlets, the elegant universal sign language. Slurred through the gunnery sergeant's armored gauntlets, universal sign language was as tortured as it was tortured like a peacock in a cockfight. No, that doesn't work at all. The elegant universal sign language was tortured like a peacock in a cockfight. This is hurting my fucking head right here. No, I know that you don't feel bad at all about trying to help. No, we don't. Wait a second. Does that actually... Universal Sign Language was a beautiful and elegant language. Slurred through Gunny's armored gauntlets, it was as tortured as a peacock in a cockfight. A poet would have wept, but there were no poets on this irradiated alien hulk. That's better. Why don't you highlight it and come back tomorrow? No, I'm actually like pretty happy. Universal Sign Language was a beautiful and elegant language. When slurred through Gunny... Universal Sign Language was one of the most beautiful... Universal Sign Language was one of the most graceful and elegant languages humanity had ever devised. But slurred through Gunny's armored gauntlets, it was as tortured as a peacock in a cockfight. Hell yeah. A poet would have wept, but there were no poets on this irradiated alien. That's so much better. Oh my god. So Negi says, why is there so much fucking lag on your whole internet's kind of fucky at the moment right now? So you're looking at 2 different kinds of lag. So you're on YouTube, right? So we don't have the real-time fucking setting on YouTube right there, which means that there's about a 30-second lag introduced by YouTube. So let me like break it down for you. So from my microphone and the camera to you, there's about 250 milliseconds of capture lag that's built into it right there. That's the video transmitting from me to my computer. Then the computer is taking some time to encode the stream into H.264. So that's probably another maybe 500 milliseconds of time as it's encoding the stream. Okay, so then from my computer, it's going to the router, maybe another like 0.1 millisecond there. From my router, it's going to like whatever the fucking ONT is for this block. So we're probably router to ONT, we're adding like another 10 milliseconds. From here, it's going to the primary ingest server for Restream.io. So Restream.io, their servers are probably in Virginia. So they're probably at like a big Amazon center in Virginia, right? So that's bouncing to Virginia. Restream.io is then spitting it to YouTube, right? YouTube is doing another encoding pass on this, right? So Restream, I don't think so Restream may be re-encoding the stream as well because it's taking the feed and then multiplexing it to several different things. So Restream is then spitting it to YouTube servers. YouTube is re-encoding it and multiplexing it to a bunch of different bit rates so it can serve it to you there. And then it's going through that channel to your connection right there. That's what the lag is there. So do I have real time on Twitch? Now I should take one of the things and set it to real time, right? For people who want their comments to appear right away. So then there is also a lag as the comments are getting posted from the YouTube API and then spat into Restream. So you can see how Google has some 3 to 5 second HLS lag. So Streamlabs is only polling the server every like 10 seconds or so. Yeah, it's not like real-time chat. We can think about it. So Restream, definitely I'm noticing more delay in the chats than there normally would be. But just when we're thinking about it, like what's causing that timing thing, like look at all those different links in this chain. How fucking amazing is it that we can do this at all? Pretty fucking insane. So I like this a lot better. I wish I had actually saved a, I have like the original version somewhere on here. So what we came out with was Universal Sign Language was one of the most graceful and elegant languages humanity had ever devised. Slurred through Gunny's armored gauntlets, it was as tortured as a peacock in a cockfight. A poet would have wept, but there were no poets on this irradiated alien hulk. I like it better. So Negi says it's harder to help you edit when there's so much lag. I mean, I come back to it. Like the fix there, one is that like things don't have to happen immediately, right? I'm going to be working on something. I'm going to look over and notice. The easiest way is to like specify the exact wording, like just write like the whole line and the part that needs to change, and then I can find it there. And also to like wait a second, because as I'm working through the process, right? I'm going to keep turning every sentence over like a stone in my hand, slowly wearing it down until we find something that I'm happy with. Look at that diss. I think it's easier because I only make well-considered, high-quality suggestions. What a dick. No, so like, and it's I definitely understand like the frustration of not getting your suggestions to appear immediately. And so one of the things that we could do like a trial run for is like throwing this document in something like collaborative where people can pop up comments on it as it's going. We may try, like, let me fuck around with that a little bit today. But yeah, there's always going to be a lag between the chat showing up and me taking a look at it. And only if it's because I'm like processing. Like when we were doing the edit for Gravid, I would literally spend like 3 or 4 minutes just like agonizing over a line and then look up at the chat. And somebody would be like, you just wrote the N-word like 6 different times in that sentence for no reason. And I'd be like, So let's try to get through chapter. Do I have time? Yeah, I got time for chapter 5. So Lefty had the expression that was so familiar to Gunny, the tarred squint of open-mouthed incomprehension. There were 3 tards in the 37th platoon who were too featured to follow signs reliably. Lefty, Heaves, and Plinko. Those three Marines were all on door squad, as fearless as they were featured. So here, I don't know if it tracks to you guys, but featured. Twitch is very close to real time, and you should use that if you want real time chats. Okay, yeah. Thanks for your comments there, Nikki. I think you really did help make that a better fucking paragraph right there, and it was one of the worst paragraphs in the whole book. Yeah, thanks for your support, and much appreciate that cash infusion to our editing fund. I will spend it on coffee. But where were we at there? So here, we use featured as their way of saying retard, right? I will indeed see you tomorrow. So that's like one of the word replacement things here. Like instead of calling each other faggots, they call each other rabbits. Instead of saying fuck, they say chucked. And like all throughout that, it's like this PG-13 situation. And honestly, it's like only the title of the book and the fact that they call each other tards that is at all inappropriate. But of course, those 3 Marines were all on door squad, as fearless as they were featured. They were nicknames not only for each tard, but for the groups that tended to glom together. The Lefty, Heaves, Plinko trio was called Triple Trouble. Gunny liked to think each of them had 1/3 of a brain, and together the triad counted as one functional Marine. Gunny liked to think each had 1/3 of a brain, and together the trio counted as one functional Marine. Lefty, Gunny signed, exasperation hissing from his flared nostrils. Come link. Lefty finally understood what Gunny wanted. Immediately he dropped the cycle saw and tromped over. The 200-kilo apparatus hit the deck with a thunk they could all feel race up the... Oh, yeah, that's... With a thunk they could all feel race through their boots to ring in their teeth. Most whales had their own gravity, oriented towards the central spine. So this is a tough one. Oriented away from the central spine. Yeah. We have to do that for later. So the amount varied wildly from whale to whale. This one... Cool. Glad I got back to this here. Oh, fuck. No, they're... Ooh. Okay, cool. Whew. It is hoitin'. I hope that ain't that COVID, but I think it's just the whiskey. Real talk. Oh, what do we got here? So here, what I'm doing here is I'm trying to reconcile some of the events that happen later in the story, so that the gravity works out with things that happen later. Most whales had their own gravity, which could vary wildly in intensity and orientation, even from room to room. Yeah, hell yeah, to whiskey, making it harder to tell if it's a hangover or a sinus headache. I don't know. I think it's more lack of sleep, right? Whiskey just fucks up your sleep so bad. Today, I'm gonna pursue a bit more of like dieting and exercise regime because just like I'm I just feel so fucking fat, just sitting around all day and eating. Okay, so made some significant changes to the entire story with just like that one line. So Lefty finally understood what Gunny wanted. Immediately dropped the cycle saw and tromped over. The 200-kilo apparatus hit the deck with a thunk they could all feel race through their boots to ring in their teeth. Most whales had their own gravity, which could vary wildly in intensity and in orientation, even from room to room. They'd flown the rats through a jungle of twisted scrap where Pinchy the whale. They'd flown the rats. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The landing site they'd selected was a wide corridor exposed to open space. The mechanics of this are difficult because you got to like visualize the whole fucking thing, what it works as. And let's see. The landing site they'd selected was a wide corridor. The battery on this the Mac that I'm typing on is fucking swelling, which happens to the old Macs and so forth. And normally I would just liberate another one from the school, but I can't go back to the school at the moment. Whoa, whoa, hard times. I may have to swap out. I like this fucking keyboard on this thing too, which is why we're using this old 2015 MacBook. Because just every MacBook after the 2015s, their keyboards are dog shit. Yeah, I'll have to liberate another one there. I'll work on it, boys. The landing site they'd selected was a wide corridor that had been exposed to open space when the breach sheared Pinchy the whale in half. Didn't replace till it died completely. Wait, what the? Where are you even at? Yeah. Oh, didn't replace it till it died completely. Swollen battery for like 8 months. Didn't replace. Yeah, they sometimes explode, but seldom. But I would be really fucking upset if this one exploded. It would ruin my table, and it's like a pretty nice fucking table that we have here. So I gotta think on her. Well, hopefully, like at the end of this month, I can go back, or maybe at some point I'll make a trip out to the school and just requisition some supplies and shit. The landing site they'd selected was a wide corridor that had been exposed to open space when the breach sheared Pinchy the whale in half. Mm. often went nova. It was a stroke of good fortune. Whales would often go nova as tards. Oh, yeah. The hulls of whales were intensely radioactive, and it could take hours to saw through them. All right, I like that a little bit better. Cool. Okay, so Bonzo. Okay, the landing site they'd selected was a wide corridor that had been exposed to open space when the breach sheared Pinchy the whale in half. Bonzo had piloted them through a jungle of twisted scrap to land in this wide chamber, which was about 400 meters in from the whale's hull. Yeah. Mhm. This was a stroke of good fortune. The hulls of whales were intensely radioactive, and it could take hours to saw through them. Gravity was oriented towards the hull, clocking it. What happened to our... Hmm. Fuck, who's bothering me? Oh, okay. Yeah, somebody's first day of being gay. All right, what do we got? Uh, Did not realize that this would be such a difficult chapter to edit. Lefty, Gunny barked. When he realized the Marine could not hear him, he walloped him on the back of his helmet. Lefty, Gunny barked. When he realized the Marine could not hear him, he walloped him on the back of the helmet. When he realized the Marine couldn't hear him, he walloped Lefty on the back of his helmet. There was a plate at the back of each Marine's helmet, specifically reinforced to withstand exactly this treatment. Lefty threw his hands up, not understanding why he'd gotten whomped. With both hands, Gunny grabbed the Tard's helmet and pointed Lefty's eyes at the spot where he dropped the cycle saw, and he demanded. The two Marines linked trunks, and Gunny began to chew Lefty out for nearly wiping the squad. Trunks were helmet mods, which Trunks were a helmet modification which addressed one of the biggest challenges facing Tard platoons, communication in vacuum without radios. They were truncated cones projecting from either side of the jawline of the Tard suit helmets. The cones created a resonant cavity, and they had self-retracting wire spools attached to magnetic discs. When all was said and done, they were just cans on strings, but they worked. Trunks were peak Tard tech, simple, stupid, and effective. Shout out to Trunks. Gunny continued to berate Lefty. It was important to repeat himself or Lefty would forget half of it. Gunny helmets had a distinctive big nose to accommodate the triple trunk, so he could yell at 3 Marines at once in a vacuum. If that wasn't enough, they could employ telephone formation. The whole platoon would get in 3 lines, and every 3rd Marine would act as a repeater and parrot what the gunnery sergeant said. They drilled in the formation often, but it was something a Tard would usually get to do once in his life. The most common application... The most common usage was when the platoon was about to die and the Gunny wanted to give a stirring speech. Tards love speeches. Okay. The platoon drilled in the formation often, but it was something a Tard would usually only get to do once in his life. The most common usage was when the platoon was about to die and the Gunny wanted to give a stirring speech. Tard loved speeches. Biggest feature in the Navy, right here. We're not even in the whale yet, and you want to kill the whole cod clam platoon. Gunny concluded, while Lefty sat there, looking miserable beneath his visor. No excuse, Gunny. Squat duty for a week, Gunny. Oh, God. Squad duty for a week, Gunny ordered. Lefty's eyebrows rose. A week was a brutal punishment. Aw, Gunny, I didn't even kill us. 2 weeks, Gunny barked, and Lefty's mouth was working in protest, but his brain finally caught up and clapped it shut. He shut his eyes and exhaled, no doubt trying not to think about how many latrines he would be scrubbing in the days to come. Okay, shut up a second and think. How you feeling, Lefty? Lefty could lift the 200-kilo cycle saw in 2G like it was a bouquet of flowers, but the command to think made him begin to sweat at once. As he struggled, Gunny peered As Lefty struggled, Gunny peered at the Marine's vacant expression like a radio astronomer scanning for signs of intelligence in the galactic background noise. God damn, what a diss. On a stellar scale of tarred brilliance, if Bonzo was a luminous supergiant and Heaths was a geriatric neutron star, Lefty was a brown dwarf, maybe a main sequence dwarf on a good day. But when it came to hunches, Lefty outshone. Lefty outshone the whole platoon. He couldn't be sucker punched, pranked with a trap, or bluffed in poker. He always knew. It was uncanny. Not so good, Lefty admitted. Something ain't right. Gunny let that one stew for a moment. Not so good. He unclipped the trunk and signaled for everyone to stop and sit on their hands. Let me think, he signed, tapping the side of his helmet. He looked around the whale, forcing the limited air in their tanks and the climbing dosimeters on their wrists out of his mind. Haste would get you wasted. Gunny hunkered down with the rest of his Marines, sitting on his own gauntlets. Idle hands were deadly to tards. They couldn't resist chucking with things they shouldn't. Gunny looked out at the wide, sloping tunnel with the end blown off and exposed to space. There were wrinkly ridges rising up the sides and ribs. It was like someone had poked a finger into a block of cheese and they were walking in the cave it left behind. At the fingertip was the disk they were attempting to breach. Disks were often, but not always, the thinnest part between two chambers. This whale was unlike any other they'd been in, which was, in a way, like every other whale they'd been in, predictably unpredictable. Some whales were just messes of honeycomb cells so small the tards had to crawl through, painstakingly cutting their way through with cycle saws and demo charges. Others had vast hallways big enough that they could have flown the Polybius through them, if only they weren't thrumming with herald radiation. Some interiors were full of crystalline protrusions inscribed with inscrutable glyphs. Some were smooth waves of seamless white metal they couldn't scratch with an entire demo satchel. You never knew what kind of whale you were getting into until you cracked one open. Gunny stood up, motioning for the other Marines to stay down. Member, with me. Hull check, Gunny ordered the mission recorder. Member nodded an aye, and they headed back to the Tardsport to get his flash pan and the deck hooks. Bonzo in charge. Don't move, Gunny signed. He didn't usually go on hull checks, but he needed more info to decide what to do about the disc. They'd already spent more air than he wanted to, fooling with it. He clanked along with Member to the ragged edge of the corridor.
They tried to clip into a wild tangle of what looked like wiring, but the wire sliced right through the hook. There was no resistance. Gunny and Member turned to each other, eyebrows raised. 1, because the weird wire could have cut through either of their hands just as easily. 2, because something that could cut like that would be an incredible boon to them. Boon for them. Member tapped the side of his helmet. I will remember. All right, hold on. So this is... How long have we got to go on this guy? All right, I'm gonna power through it. Can I power through it? Yeah, my head's fucking hurting, but I'm gonna make it through this fucking chapter. Yeah, it's a hard chapter to edit. Yeah, there's just like a lot of technical details in this one right here, and things that I have to fix because I changed them later in the story. So Member tapped the side of his helmet. I will remember. Every platoon picked the tard with the best memory and tasked him to be the mission recorder. This member was particularly good. Every platoon had a mission recorder. This member was particularly good, the best Gunny I'd ever seen. There were a lot of exceptionals in this batch. Gunny wondered if the smarts were doing something different, or if he just had a lucky draw. He kept meaning to ask the comm about it and forgetting. Gunny was as seasoned as a Gunny could get. Gunny was as seasoned as a gunnery sergeant could get. His first platoon on the Polybius had been the 30th, which meant he led 7 platoons for the Chief of Marines. Captain of Marines. Gunny was unusual too. Very few Gunnies lasted more than a platoon or two. Twice he'd been the sole survivor, and that had never happened to any other Gunny, not in the whole history of the TARDS program. The smarts had ordered him to retire and teach at the academy after the second near wipe, but he told them to chuck off. He told them if Gunny told the smarts if they took him off breach missions and locked him in the academy, he would be the sole survivor of the academy too. They chucked off. After mission, we get sample, Gunny signed, pointing at the Vorpal wire. They nodded together grimly, both aware they would likely lose Marines trying to get a sample. Keeping a generous distance from the tangle of snick-snack wire, they took one of the adhesive clamps Gunny had grabbed from Winchester's kit and tethered in. Then they climbed. Okay, so here, previously, they were like right by the skin of the whale, but here I've made it about 400 meters distant from where they're at. So we had to make this change just like that there, because later the like mechanics of this needs to change around. Immediately their eyes scanned the stars for the wishing ring. The Polybius was too distant for them to see the ship itself, but it had a satellite ring of bright purple and gold signal lights orbiting orbiting at a distance of 5 clicks. That was their way home, their guiding light. If they made it out of the whale, Bonzo was going to point the Tard Sport's nose at the wishing ring, and they were all going to pray they had enough fuel to make it through the flame horizon. There was supposed to be plenty of fuel, but sometimes gravity got chucky around whales. Got it, Member signed, pulling his head out of the sweet spot. He began to say, okay. He pulled his head out of the sweet spot and began to set up the flash pan. Gunny thought he ought to take a look himself, but instead he watched Member setting up the signaling apparatus. Scales made his skin crawl. The hulls of whales were nearly always made of a light-drinking black material the Tards called ghost skin. Other than the intense herald radiation they emitted, the whale hulls seemed featureless, perfectly smooth and unremarkable. Other than the intense herald radiation they emitted, whale hulls seemed featureless to a casual glance. At first look, perfectly smooth and unremarkable. But the Tards had discovered that at a distance of between 1033 and 1036 millimeters, golden patterns would appear if viewed by the naked eye. They were interlinked polygons inlaid in the ghost skin. They would blink out of existence the moment the eye left the sweet spot. No one knew what the golden lines meant. The smarts couldn't even figure out what the black material was made of. The smarts couldn't even figure out what ghost skin was made from. After a century of tinkering, the main thing they learned was that there were a lot of investigative techniques which caused whale hull material to undergo spontaneous nuclear fusion. After a century of investigating, the main thing the smarts had learned was that there were a lot of investigative After a century of research, the main thing the smarts had learned was that there were a lot of investigative techniques that caused whale hull material to undergo spontaneous nuclear fusion. The smarts who researched ghost skin were called nebs. This was short for nebulas because they were destined to become stars. Tards called the golden lines scaled. Tards called the golden hull lines scales, and they believed you could tell a lot about a whale by them. Pentagons were the best. Those were good whales that a whole platoon might come back from. Squares were difficult whales. There would be something frustrating about them. 6-sided or greater polygons meant something weird would happen. The more sides, the weirder. Triangles were bad luck. Circles were a crapshoot no one could agree with. A whale with no scales was supposed to be death. None of them had ever seen one. Gunny had been interviewed by the smarts many times. They told him the scales didn't mean that, but what did they know? They had never been on a whale. They could never be on one. They had never been on a whale, could never be on one. For a long time, the smarts hadn't even believed the scales were there. They wouldn't show up on any kind of sensor or film. It wasn't until a smart researching a chunk of ghost skin finally got fed up and went in for a look with their own eyes that the smarts had to admit they were there. So I think our capitalization on smarts is kind of fucky, but let's save that for the proofread, because I'm hurting here. It wasn't until a smart researching a chunk of ghost skin finally got fed up and went in for a look with her own eyes that the smarts had to admit they were there. She died of radiation poisoning within hours. Now, entire units of smarts were tearing their hair out trying to figure out what the scales signified. It was one piece of information they could almost always get about a mission. Whales didn't usually kill a platoon until they tried to get inside. Yeah, I like that concept right there of them like not believing that they're fucking there because you have to see them with the naked eye, and then one researcher is like fuck it and stares at the thing and just immediately dies of radiation poisoning. Some real Marie Curie shit here. Member was done setting up the flash pan. He was flicking the hull and interior description back to the Polybius. For the next 10 minutes, he repeated the signal again and again, flickering the chemical signal lamp back at the telescopes trained on them until the wishing ring blinked in receipt. Gunny watched the lamp work. He knew the code, too. He was meant to fill in if Member died. He saw a word he didn't understand and trunked up with Member after he packed up the flash pan. What's a valk nut, Member? Take a peep, Gunny, Member said, pointing at the hull. With a grimace, Gunny found the sweet spot, feeling his chute pucker as the golden lines blinked into his vision. These scales were 3 interlinked triangles, surrounded by a blank area. That's a Valknut. Yeah, I don't think Valknut is capitalized. That's a Valknut, Member. Those 3 triangles are a Valknut, Member explained. Viking jit. How in the world did you know that? Smarts made me do flashcards of all kinds of symbols till my head hurt. Member groaned. Till me head hurt. Smarts made me do flashcards of all kinds of symbols till me head hurt. Member groaned. He suffered the most at the hands of the smarts, even more than Gunny. What's it mean? Gunny asked. Member's eyes rolled up, going almost Member's eyes rolled up, going almost white as he tried to remember. His tongue poked against his upper lip, as if the thought were a seed stuck in his teeth. Finally, he dislodged it. Afterlife, Member concluded, nodding his head sharply. Gunny grimaced. He didn't like that one bit. 3 triangles gots to be triple trouble. Guess who I got ready to blow the door right now? Dumb, dumber, and dumberest, Member nodded. It's bad luck, Member. Don't tell the others. Member nodded in agreement. He and Bonzo were the only ones Gunny could trust to keep a secret. We could go back, Member offered, casting his eyes up at the wishing ring, which was still winking at them. Can't go back. Mission's not done. We could tell them it's done. Like that time where we couldn't get through the metal at all, where the old Bango blew himself up. That was 2 bangos ago, Gunny corrected. Bangos were particularly fleeting, even by Tard's standards. We could tell them it's all white metal, but the smarts will grill everyone. Some jithead will blab, guaranteed. Let's save that play for if we draw the dead-skin skull whale. Member's eyes narrowed at the mention. No Tard wanted that draw. He gave a thumbs up aye, and the Marines untrunked to swing back to the whale. Whew. Member was the first back to the corridor, and he was about to swing back down. Gunny barked for Member to halt, but he was looking the other way. Gunny dove for his cable, catching it at the last possible moment and wrenching Member back so hard it burned a shallow groove in the palm armor of his gauntlet. Member was yanked backward hard and fell onto his back. Yeah, we have to. I know immediately that's got to change. Yanked back abruptly, Member whacked his helmet against the jutting beam. Yanked back abruptly, Member whacked his helmet against a jutting beam. He got hornet mad, balling his fist and drawing back his gauntlet to duck Genny. Holy shit. He got hornet mad. Balling his fist and drawing back his gauntlet. Yeah. Gunny pointed to the tangle of wire and made a chopping motion with his hand, then drew a line across his neck. Member turned white as milk. So that's something that we'll have to change if we decide to make the Space Marines black so that they can be true GNA soldiers. I think I'm not going to do that. As cool as it would be, I think it doesn't fit with the story. He'd forgotten about the tangle of Vorpal wire beneath them. He'd been about to swing right into it. He was about half a second away from being dismember. Gunny didn't even need to berate him. He could see Member trembling in a full-bodied pucker. The mission recorder had more facts crammed in his skull than the rest of him combined, but he was still a tard. Oh, I like that where he's just about to. Oh, we're about halfway through this fucking story right here. Let's. How many words is this so far? We are about 8,000 words in, so we're maybe like a little bit more than about a quarter of the way through. It's not too bad. The first chapters are short. Later chapters, it must be like long as fuck. There's only 12 chapters in this motherfucker. Okie dokie. Well, thank you guys for joining me on this. So we threw about half the chapters, but which means what we may need to. I like to break it up so it's 13 chapters, just to have like a cool number. Yeah, that's a very technical chapter right there. I like a lot of the shit that's in there, but it probably shades into too much exposition. But we shall see. All right, y'all. Well, thank you for joining the shit. My head is killing me. Hopefully it's not the bug. If it is, love you all. Penis pump. And thank you so much to everybody out there for being a part of this. Special shout outs to Negi for hopping in here with his edits, and to Spethiwa, who were very active in the editing. I just really like this so far. They're so dumb, but so lovable at the same time. All right. I will definitely not do another editing stream today, but we'll be back tomorrow.